It's the January transfer window, but with Manchester United playing so poorly at the moment, we haven't really had an opportunity to speak about any potential signings that we could make. We all know that Manchester United need central midfield reinforcements. We needed it in the summer. We needed it the summer before. We needed it the summer before there. We spent so much money over the last 5-10 years, and we've hardly invested inside the central midfield or the defensive midfield positions. But maybe we could be doing it in January with Denis Zakaria. The 25-year-old Borussia Mönchengladbach midfielder is available on a free transfer in the summer, and reports have been linking us to him for some time. What I'm going to do in this video is a full story look at Zakaria. Going to take a look at the latest reports. Where are they coming from? Are they reliable? Going to take a look at what sort of midfielder Zakaria is. Would he be that defensive midfield powerhouse that we need, or is he more of a box-to-box midfielder? We'll run through all of the stats, and then we'll take a look at how he could fit inside this Rangnick system and formation. Please, if you would, consider dropping a like on the video before you start watching. But let's get straight into this one, because the Zakaria one is interesting, for sure. He's getting linked with Manchester United, I would say, first and foremost, because of this. He is out of contract in the summer. Transfer market has got his value down there as just under £25 million, but the price being linked with him is around about €10 million, which for a player who is so established inside the Bundesliga, who has over 200 career appearances in central midfield and defensive midfield, he knows that position. At 6'3", he's a big dude, and we could do with some physical presence inside midfield because we need that control. Control's the buzzword for Rangnick, and control is something we have not had for some time in midfield. But what are the reports and where are they coming from? It's Konstantin Eckner out in Germany. He's considered pretty reliable. He's not top tier, he's not tier 1, but I would say he's probably around about tier 2. He's saying that Manchester United are in talks with Zakaria's side over a January move. Now, we don't know whether that means Gladbach, as in his team, or Zakaria's representatives. Probably his representatives. It's weird, isn't it, how transfers have changed, because if you did that before and spoke to Zakaria and his representatives without speaking to the club, that would have been tapping up. You would have got a fine. But it seems to be the norm these days. He's saying that Manchester United are in talks over a move, but no bid just yet. Fabrizio Romano saying that Manchester United haven't made a bid. Same thing. The option has been discussed, but there is still no official bid. But the more than 4 clubs are working to sign him as a free transfer. And I think that's why United are going in for him, if we are going in for him, because he's free. I kind of understand if the club isn't going to spend 50-60 million on a central midfielder for Rangnick in January, given that he's only in the job on an interim basis, and we don't know whether that midfielder will be part of the plans going forward from the summer. So I kind of understand a little bit of hesitation there, but it's more the fact that we haven't signed anybody in that position for so long. What else has Fabrizio been saying about him? He said here that Manchester United have had contacts with the agents of Zakaria in the beginning of December. So that's over a month ago. Rangnick knows him very well for a long time, but nothing is advanced at the moment. And the Rangnick link is important here. And I tell you what, the Rangnick link goes a little bit deeper than maybe people realise. If you look at Borussia Mönchengladbach's manager, Adi Hutter, he was manager of Red Bull Salzburg for 2 years. He won I think he won the double with them. He certainly won the league with them. Let's have a look down here. Won the domestic double in the 2014-15 season. He was not schooled. He's not like another a pupil of Rangnick, but Rangnick and him have a close relationship. So if Rangnick did want to have those conversations, it's something that Rangnick could do and Rangnick could use. And that has to be considered a positive thing, right? But Zakaria, as I said, we've looked at the reports and where they've come from. What sort of midfielder is he? And this is really important to understand, because it's all well and good Manchester United signing a central midfielder in January. We all know we need one, but we need to sign the right one. Is Zakaria the right one? Let's take a look at his stats over here on fbref.com. Cracking website, by the way, to really help and compare players. And what these numbers mean, by the way, you look at the percentile. The higher the number is, the better he is compared to other midfielders in that. That's what it is. It's a versus comparison. So that means that he's in the top 25% of midfielders for non-penalty goals. So while he might be a defensive midfielder by position, he pops up with a lot of goals. And you go down here and you see these stats. These are the most important stats. And that one there is probably the single most important of his. Top 7% for passes completed in a per 90 comparison with other midfielders. Zakaria does not really lose possession. And that's something Manchester United massively need in midfield. He's very good with dribbling. He's very good with pass completion. So that means he's great at receiving the ball, maybe beating a player and passing to a teammate. And that's really what United need inside a midfield control position, because that's what we lack, that control. We lack. It's why our attacks are so fast and direct. We don't have a midfielder who is comfortable at beating a man and passing to his teammate. We have midfielders who are just not comfortable doing that. And that's what we need. That will definitely help Manchester United. If you're looking at negative stats here, he's not a pressing midfielder in any way, shape or form. So maybe you would say someone like Haidara would be more suited to Rangnick rather than him. But tackle's not very good either, bottom 20. But look, interceptions and blocks. And I always use the comparison of Michael Carrick when seeing midfielders like this. Because Michael Carrick, when he played in the defensive midfield role, he wasn't somebody who pressed high or tackled intently. But he was a very good defensive midfielder because he intercepted. He blocked the passing lanes. Blocks and interceptions. Top 10% for blocks, top 15% for interceptions. Zakaria is that sort of midfielder. Not somebody who's going to run in and be aggressive with the pressing and tackling, but somebody who's going to maybe think a step ahead and go to intercept the ball or block it instead. And that can't be, I don't think that's considered a bad thing at all. But that bit there is probably the most important. He's somebody who we could trust to receive the ball from our defenders and find a teammate. And if he needs to, run it past the player. And that's probably down to his physical size and his power. 6'3", confident with the ball at his feet. He can shrug a man off and pass to a teammate. That can't be considered a bad thing. Now, compare him to other players. Who is he compared to? This might make you laugh or cry, I suppose. Scott McTominay is the top of the list of players that he is compared to. Declan Rice is second. Even Illich, you go down here. Frank Kessie is there at number 9. I still can't really believe that we're not even in for Kessie. We really, really should be. But Scott McTominay is the biggest comparison. Declan Rice as well. So Zakaria is somebody who clearly, statistically, is somebody who receives the ball, is confident at skipping past the man and bringing the ball forward. He can pass the ball forward. He can bring the ball forward. And again, that's what we need in a defensive midfield role. We need somebody who's going to be able to find his teammates. In terms of progressive passes, they've got him down there is in the bottom, basically average. Average for carries, average for passes. Maybe that can be considered a negative. But I can see and understand where Zakaria would fit inside this system. So let's take a quick look at it together. And let's something to quickly understand before we skip and we take a look at the tactics. This is his career. Look, he's played 152 times as a defensive midfielder, 47 times as a central midfielder, 18 times as a centre-back, and randomly 1 time as a right winger, which is really quite, really random. Anyway, he's got more defensive side of his game is the natural side of his game, and that's what we need in a central midfielder. But let's take a quick look here at how he could fit inside this system. I've got Rashford up front and Ronaldo. It doesn't really matter about anybody else. I'm just looking here at these two. Now, what Zakaria could potentially do, and I spoke about this on the live stream this morning, so if you joined me this morning, you would understand this. We could potentially see that. Whether that's Bruno dropping there, I don't know. But you could potentially see Zakaria come in and Manchester United use a 4-3-3 formation. Now, Ralf Rangnick did use this formation at Hoffenheim. If I'm being completely honest, I think this was the formation that Solskjaer ultimately wanted Manchester United to play, but we never had a defensive midfielder. Now, inside this position, Zakaria would effectively stay inside that zone. He wouldn't have to move away from it. He'd receive the ball, maybe drop deep to receive it from Varane, Maguire, whoever's behind him, and bring the ball forward, progress inside this area, and simply just pass that ball off to Bruno, pass that ball off to McTominay. If you want, go long to Sancho, start the attacks. That's what he'd be able to do inside that position. And that would work very well. Now, we don't play with one holding midfielder because we don't have anybody good enough to play in that role. Zakaria could come in and do that. If he was to operate differently, and maybe we would just stick to the 4-2-2 system, you would probably see something like that. You would see Bruno on the left, Sancho on the right, leaving the width to our fullbacks, Dalot and Shaw in this formation, and then Zakaria would allow McTominay to do what he does best and then just to drop in behind. When McTominay goes forward, Zakaria would still operate in these roles. So I think if he was to join, he would pretty much operate in that role. Whether it's in a 4-2-2 and simply dropping behind to allow McTominay or Fred, whoever's in front of him, to go forward and do what they do best as a box-to-box midfielder, or if he's there as a 4-3-3 and he's actually a proper holding midfielder, that's what Zakaria would do. I think he would operate inside that zone there. He would make that his home. Marshal it, stop the balls going through that zone, stop any players who run through that. That's his area of the pitch, and that's where we need someone. Let's be completely honest. That's where we've been lacking for so long. So I can see the benefits, I can see the positives, and I can understand why Zakaria would be a good signing for Manchester United. Cheap, 10 million. 25 years to progress in front of him. Ralf Rangnick, he has a link with Borussia Mönchengladbach's manager, and I can see where he fits inside this system. I can understand the stats. I can understand where he slots in. And as I said, I think the fact that he's available for relatively cheap is probably the biggest reason why we go for him. That is what it is, but it doesn't mean it would be a bad signing. But what do you think about Zakaria? Hopefully this video has helped you understand a bit more about who Zakaria is as a player, where he would fit inside this Manchester United team, maybe with where the weaknesses in his game are, but more importantly, where the strengths are and why we'd be interested. I hope it's helped. If it has, please consider dropping a like on the video. Zakaria, would he be coming to Manchester United? Not sure, but this is the full story, taking a look at everything from the rumours, the whole way through to how he fits inside this team. I hope it's helped. Until next time, though, take it easy.